Hi, my name is Toby O'Geen, and I'm a professor and soil resource specialist in cooperative extension. Today I'm going to talk about fate and transport of sediment in California rangelands. This is going to be a brief introduction to erosion in rangelands, and I encourage you to visit my longer presentation to get the details behind the science of erosion. So erosion is important to understand in any type of land use system. Erosion threatens the productivity of our landscapes. It influences water quality. By influencing productivity, it also influences biodiversity of our lands and also influences our water supply. And so we always have to be mindful of erosion to protect our managed landscapes. Generally speaking, in California rangelands, there's so much cover from the annual grasses that erosion is considerably low compared to other parts of the United States. However, excessive grazing and removal of dry material or vegetative material can have severe impacts on soil erosion. This graph on the right side of the slide is just showing you that a small increase in residue cover can have huge increases in soil loss reduction. 20% cover can reduce soil loss by 50% compared to bare soil. So maintaining cover can be really important in protecting the soil surface from erosion. We wanted to evaluate the different magnitudes of erosion across the annual rangelands of California. And we did that by applying the universal soil loss equation in a geographic information system to model the effects of erosion across different scenarios of residual dry matter: low cover, moderate cover, and high cover. And we categorized the output of that model across different rangeland management zones, which were defined by soil, climate, and topography, as identified here in this map here. The outcome of our modeling showed that erosion, sheet and rill erosion, as modeled by this equation, is relatively low across the state. But it also showed that there are areas where erosion was higher, areas where erosion was much lower, and areas where the difference between high and low cover was greater than other areas. And so what we found is that there's a place-based procedure in understanding erosion in California, and that management techniques need to be place-based to prevent erosion. Because modeled erosion of sheet and rill are so low, it is mindful to be aware of water focusing areas that can cause site-specific catastrophic erosive events, such as gully erosion, which is not modeled by our modeling by the universal soil loss equation. And so areas like trailing, poorly placed culverts, or poorly constructed roads are point sources, so to speak, of erosion that you can consider carefully in your ranch planning to limit the catastrophic effects of erosion. This graph on the right here simply shows a comparison of erosion on trails versus that of open grass adjacent to the trail. And you can see that in this logarithmic graph here, the amount of erosion is much higher in trailing areas. And so keeping cover in place and managing our landscapes with the intent to prevent catastrophic effects of erosion can go a long way in reducing sediment transport in our landscapes.
For more information on this topic, we invite you to view a more in-depth presentation that provides science-based insights and conclusions. You can find this and other ranch water quality presentations on the UC Rangelands website, and look for the Water Quality Information Hub or direct your web browser to the URL shown on this slide.